to continue from right where we stopped in the previous video, as we were done with implementing our authentication from the backend using Better Auth and Honor itself. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to have to implement this in the front end before then we can go into the procedure of actually implementing other things into it. So here's what I'm going to do. Close everything. Go back to our backend and the library. We look at what we have. We have the admin plugin and then the React Start cookies. So all we need is to have the admin plugin in the front end of our application, and we have here authentication plugin, admin, client, and we are going to initiate the import because it's not yet available, but later on the rest should come automatically when we use it. So here we are going to add this Better Auth slash plugin. It's plugin or plugins, one of the two should be correct. Okay, it's plugins. So we have this available. And what we are going to do next is we have this. We did not complete that. Previously in the video we made, we wanted to be able, instead of having a reference from our project, we can just have it installed. Since we already have the backend installed here as a workspace reference to our package, there's really no point of us having a TypeScript reference for this. So let's turn this into a library. The only thing that's missing for us to have this call available here, in order for us to use to have backend call the backend itself and have this type available, is because we do not have any export for the library itself. So here we have to come and have the export available, and basically we shall use the library itself as the export itself, like the main export, and shall use dist slash source slash types.ts. The reason why we do not take index is because index does have the client side of the import, whereby if we use the client side, we're going to have issues when it comes to our env that is importing, having the reference of our env has the reference of Cloudflare Workers, which does not work outside of when it is executed during the runtime process itself. So we export that, and the default is going to be, if the dist is not built, so we shall go to the default as source types.ts, and in our Honor we're going to change that to backend, and that should work. Types types.ts, and that is there. See, okay, now what we have to do is just build it. We all is run the build. I'm going to have to add run into it. Burn run. So let's wait for that to get done. Let's reload so that it does create the import itself. See, that should solve the issue. If it doesn't, I think let's try to see. Okay, this is supposed to be types D, because in the build it will be D instead. So yep, we got that working now. It's working. Okay, so we solved that, and we can remove this reference to the back end itself. We no longer need that available. And since our application is running the web, here we go, and we have that. Okay, going to have a reload again, have that fixed. See, okay, everything is working fine. See, we're not making that many requests, so it's 1 and 2. So 1 request and second request. Okay, we have that. Let's go to our backend and also add a logger. Okay, we do have a logger, and okay, we have a logger. Yeah, that's it. So, and our authentication, we have it available. And now we are going to create a new route inside routes here. Create a new route, and let's name this authentication, authorization, session, and inside authorization I'm going to have a 0 for auth, and inside it, that's where I'm going to have authentication for the login route, and I'm going to name it as TSX, and that route is created for us. So it's going to be /auth authorization. So we have this path available for us, and as well as we're going to have to create account. So we need another route under O for auth to create account, index the TSX so that, and we shall also need one for resetting the password, forgot password and reset password, but that we shall do later. For right now we're going to stick to these two. So let's start with the authentication part of it. For the design for authentication, here we go, just figure pin, and let's make it 10 pixels above, and then we shall put it under container, and inside it we shall flex that container and have it center, as well as justify it center, but have the minimum height of screen, as well as inside here. That's where we're going to have our our authentication block for the design for authentication. So we're going to give it as this, and then minimum width is going to be, let's put it as MD as our minimum width, MD, and then wide. Okay, then I'm going to start with a spam, which is going to have a header inside, and I'm going to have log in to your Ferrous account. Log into your Ferrous account, as well as I'm going to add it to be 3x font, bold, and then have paragraph here. Enter your email and password or select social provider to authenticate to your Ferrous account. And this, we're going to make it small, front light, and then below it we're going to have a form, and inside this form we're going to have a div, and in this div we're going to have a grid with a gap of 2, and inside the grid we're going to have a label, and we're going to import our label from import label, but from at Ferrous UX compose label, so going to have compose of label, and this is going to be email, and then we shall also have input, which is going to be slash input we need to fix that import part. Shall fix it later on. Surround. Sorry about that. And type as email, and then the ID is going to be email, and HTML for email, which is email here, and the placeholder is going to be example at email.com, and let's refresh, and we have this design coming up, though our margin has not been correctly assigned, which we have to put it like this. Okay, and we're going to use small. Okay, I think this is much better, and let's just copy this as it is. We shall recreate it correctly to have a more nice approach to this, and password plus password and also the ID is going to be password, and the type is going to be password, which is already available here, though you can close this and then make the reference itself. And for password, the placeholder is going to be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and that's the placeholder we're going to have there. And then you're going to have space y of 5. Okay, same thing here, we're going to have a gap of 5. Okay, this looks appealingly nice. It looks nice. Okay, we're later going to go into our code and remove this focus. I don't like it, to be honest, but for now let's keep it as it is. So we have this and we have that, and now we need a button. And button. We're going to fix that issue of why it's not making the reference itself, like not calling out. And then our button as well, we want it to be round, not rounded, just round. Oh, rounded, sorry, rounded, but not have because by default this is how it looks like by default. Let's also make it fill the width itself. By default it looks like that, and I kind of don't like it, so I'm going to stick to this rounded there. And we have this nice approach. Now let's go to our UI and first make some changes to the UX itself, so we can have something that's nice for us to look at. Okay, so focus border and all this ring removed. Ta-da, ta-da, and we no longer have that in our way. Then let's go to just a minute, I'm looking for round so that we can put it to the default as just rounded rather than have a size on it. So here it is, and there we go. Okay, I like this. This looks much better. Okay, close this, and let's also what was I going to do next? I was about to do something. Okay, yeah, I want us to increase it to mid, and let's see. Doesn't have the same feel. Let's leave it as small. Should be fine there. And then let's also add this here, div slash, and have two of them here, and flex item center, justify between, and forgot password. This is the part for forgot password. Forgot password, which is going to be this one, though instead of label we are going to rename it into a link, and it will have, sorry, it will be 2, just slash link and then have over underline, and we don't really need this anymore, and we need class with the hover underline here. So here we come, over underline. Okay, that looks nice, and let's reduce its size as well and let's make it light, as well as decoration. Hover border, let's have decoration, wave. Okay, it's wavy, and to make it consistent, let's keep it as it is. Forgot password, login, forgot password. Okay, same thing here, give it a gap of 2. Okay, this looks nice, and let's just separate with py of 5. Yep, so that it has a separation between the above and the lower part of it. And then close this, and we are going to put below here span. Let's copy this design from shadcn, and the blocks, login, slope down, and we want this design here, or come back here, slope down, copy it, this as it is, and then just paste it here. And when we come back, we have all well arranged for us there, and then below here we shall have the other parts, which will have a grid, and the grid is going to be of 2, and MD, and grid in mobile is going to be of 1, and in the desktop it's going to be in large screen, it's going to be of 2, and we can have something like, say, GitHub icon. Let's confirm that we have our implementation for the tablet icons from at tablet icons, which we have icon / brand, which is going to be GitHub. That's what we're going to use here, GitHub brand with GitHub. And when we come here, we have with GitHub, and let's fill it here, and reduce the size to small, and as well as let's put it to secondary, as well as to rounded. And there we have it, something that looks nice, this, but we could do better. Flex item center, come on, center with a gap of 2, and stroke of 3. see. Okay, center it, and then when we justify end, justify start, the start here. It looks a bit off because the button seems to be higher than the icon itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a span inside here. Actually rename it to div, a div inside, and okay, let's not put it as child because it's just basically a design. Item center, justify start here, and the gap is 3, rounded, so remove all this, and still feels off. Why is that? Am I tripping or something? Font bold. Okay, let's ignore that because I don't know why it feels off to me. Either my eyesight is completely going off the rails, and you can add another one. You can have something like icon brand Google as well, with fill with Google. GitHub is the easiest to get the tokens for, to get the keys and the tokens for. And here we go, have that set up. Okay, with Google and with GitHub, so we have that here. Okay, let me do the same thing here. Okay, that looks nice to me. Our auth screen does look nice, but comes the part where let's also add this into our fray, because you need to inform the user on what they are doing. We add it right here. So you might ask, what if the user doesn't have an account? What do we do about it? And then that comes the part where we're going to add something in between here in order for the user to to actually create that part. So we have link, and we have don't have an account. So if the user doesn't have an account, note 2, I'm going to send the user to create account. And that's the type part of it of TanStack that I like. Sorry about that. I'm really trying not to cough, so I'm struggling hard not to cough. So div, add this here, and we have it here. So if I don't have an account, it will send me to create an account, and it should send me back same thing that way. So we have this design, copy it as it is and just paste it here, because basically they are the same structure of things, like they have the same approach to things. And now it works. What a crazy thing. So under this is supposed to be create an account. Create a new Pharos account. We shall change that information as well. But to create an account, we need a name. Shall call it a preferred name. Preferred name, but we shall just call it name inside here. And it's supposed to be a text. Name/me name and leave it to the start here. If I start, then email, password, the name, the preferred name, the email, the password, and then confirm the password as well. We're going to name this as re-password, re-enter password. Why do we do this? Is so that the person can have a reference to their password rather than having to blindly enter a password, because there's you writing a password the first time and you haven't written it correctly, and then the second time. Though we are going to add we're going to design it in a way that the user can view their password, so that shouldn't worry you. And then these already have an account, then it should take the user back to authentication. If the user already has an account, and the user can still create an account with either of these. Okay, so to make our application scrollable, because this is under a grid, we're going to put it under a flex with a flex column and a minimum height of screen. Screen, as well as relative, in order for us to have a sticky header. So when we refresh this, and when we go back to header, and the header, it's under components, and we remove this as well as this, and we add sticky to the top of 0, so that let's also add the background to it, a muted background of 15. So right now it's a sticky and we can scroll over it, though these parts, the authentication and the create account, won't have the toolbar under it. The toolbar will be hidden. So For right now we're just having it there for the sake of having it. Now we're going to have to improve this to 20, as well as this as well to 20, but in the large screen, and this one here in the small screen. So come here. And there we go. Just another refresh, and we have it here. Okay, we can make the, in order for it to not scroll above the header, we make the header have the highest Z index so that it goes above all of them. So so when it is muted completely, it will always be under 8. But I like the other blur effect on it. Okay, let's see, does this make sense? It feels a little bit short off, so it would be nice if this could be around here. Let's make it to 30. Let's make it correctly, so comes 32 as well. Okay, start here, up, and already have an account as it is correctly. This looks nice as soon as we remove the toolbar, which we can do here like this and have it hidden, and then this will look nice. This would look even much better without the toolbar under it. So there we have it. Now we do need a part for a button to take us back. So when I'm in create, because this is create account, we shall have relative and relative there, and then we shall have a div with absolute top of 5 and right of 5. I think it's going to be left or right. I tend to confuse which side is the right or left when it comes to the computers. When it comes to this, so let's see, arrow left, so it's supposed to be left for us here. Okay, that's it. And let's also make this in maximum screen to be for X. Let's have that the 4x so that it's closer to it. Sorry for that. So that it's closer to it, and then we are going to put this right here below, and we are going to also make it sticky. Oh, sticky won't work on this, but make it absolute, and then let's see if sticky will work here. thought so too, it won't work, so let's forget about it. Forget about sticky, but you're going to make the top from there to here, that this is going to be in the large screen, and then in the small screen it's going to be 10. So was this to be 11, and I think let's make it an icon shape as well as round it to full. See, so this is supposed to take us back to the previous page, and we're going to have link, same thing, to since this is the create account, it's supposed to link us back to it's going to link us back to the previous page, which is authenticate. Now the next thing is we have to make it into a button again, since we turned it into a link, and class name, and we're going to have here rounded that I think we shall leave it as it is, though if you want it to be rounded you just add here cn negative. So we are going to collect our CN from our UX library, and as I remember correctly, we did actually import it under UX, but we also need to remove this from here so that we are not conflicted and confused about it. So this takes us back here, and then this takes us here. Now we have a nice design, but we have just implemented this design, but we have not yet implemented anything else for us to use or work on. For that matter, we don't really have anything to work on with. So we are also going to implement that same button there in order to allow also the user to head back to the page in case they find out they are really not interested in authentication, but they just really wanted to see what's there. Check it out. And there we are. And if we go back to the previous page, /0 authentication, and here we're going to change it to just /, which is basically here. Takes us back there, head here, this takes us to the create account, and then this takes us back, and there we have it. Okay, now we need to implement at least one of these today. Let's implement one of the authentication methods, and the first one I think we should implement is create an account. But before we can create an account, we're going to use load. So before loading, let's do this. Let's create here before anything else is loaded. We shall have ctx reference to our. So as you remember, when we were creating our main route, we did add in context to it, whereby in our context we do have authentication and we do have the Honor client itself, as well as in our route layout we did define this interface for it and passed it in our route layout. So this should be available, to my knowledge, this should be available right here. So if we engulf it and add in context, and inside context we have authentication, we can have here, we can have class auth await auth dot get session so here we can check for sessions in order for us to here we can check for the session in order for us to determine if the person is logged in. If the person is already logged in, we really don't need them to again recreate another account and have multiple sessions available. Already the person needs to first log out in order for them to actually have access to that. So we come here and let's see. So we have here this, if it is not null, if it is null, because this is not null, this should be null if I'm not wrong. Okay, yeah, it's supposed to be data. So data, if it is not null, if it is not null, that means the person is authenticated already. Then return throw exception. We're going to throw an exception, redirect the user to the main page. Let's remove the return because the throw really just does all of it. We redirect the user to the main page, but as well as add something to the search context. Add no, we shall add that later on. Let's add it as a to do. So before it's loaded, check if the user is authenticated. If the user is not authenticated, then do nothing. If the user is already authenticated, return that idiot back to return that idiot back to the main screen. So they don't really have anything to do with this here. So we are going to copy that exact code and put it this side as well. And just a minute, slash okay, yeah, I forgot that we need to actually import this here. Undefined, but why would it call it? Because it's so 0. Okay, so it's already authenticated. It's trying to tell us that it's authenticated, which is not true. Oh, we are supposed to remove the if part of it, because that means if it is not null, it will take user back to redirect, and the other one was if it is no. So it was the opposite of what we were doing, and here it's correctly being done. Okay, so there we have it. Now let's get into this part. So let's create an account, and we are going to use const equals to use mutation, and here we're going to do the mutation function. Set here blah blah blah, because this is a use mutation, and we're going to do a mutation function in order for us to have the other parts of create and so on. And we have the button which has type of submit. Okay, type of submit, and we are going to const handle from submission, sorry, so that's why we're going to handle from submission. But here we need to create our await, and we're going to call our auth client dot sign in. Actually, this is supposed to be sign up dot email so this is where we're going to have to sign up with email and password. So we have email, and we're going to create here our arguments. Okay, let's first create them so that we can know what is missing. Email, which is going to be a string, and it's going to be required to be available. So email, and then we need password for password, a password is also going to be string, and then we as well have a name, which we shall also require. And we're going to have a callback, which is supposed to call back, because since we have a separate backend and a front end, our callback is supposed to return us back into our callback is supposed to return us back to our web application. So that's where the callback, we are going to have import meta in our env, and in our env we did define public URL, and that's where we're going to actually call back, have our callback return to. Okay, clear. And we can turn this to argument, and then we can cancel all this and have this as that. Or else what I wanted to do just didn't work, so I'll stick to this for now. Arguments, and then here we're going to have mutate, create new account, then is pending slash is creating account. So it's unused. On submit, and we have here just a reference. I'm going to reference something here, because there is also TanStack. There is TanStack form. I've never used it, to be honest. I really don't know. It seems more type safe involved and more well structured for a form, a type of like form structure. So it's something to do with event. Okay, yeah, that's what I was looking for. And then we shall have our form created there. This video has become way too long and it's going to be a headache uploading it, so we're going to stop right here, and then in the next video that's when I'm going to continue on from here. Hopefully by then my the sinuses and cough I have gone, but in the next video we're going to complete the part of creating the account itself. As I actually should have changed this. Should have used types. I rarely ever use from the form data itself. Like, it's not something I tend to use. I tend to have the approach from this, and since I'm still new to TanStack, some of these things I don't handily have in mind. But let's see. I really wanted to complete this part and have it done. See if I could get an example to speed up this process. Oh crap. Let's actually do this, so because it would be best if we left with at least having created one account. Let me do that first. See, form types. Yeah, I think in the next video we're going to use the form from here, since it has the Zod validator, something akin to Zod validator, because I'm seeing this. I'm going to have to understand how this works. Basic concept, first define information, and then use this instead. The next part is that I think we should speed up this process, because I need this site up in a very short period of time, and the social media part of it, let's see. Hopefully it did not change anything. Create account. Okay, let's see. First, and let's see. Create account. Okay, and let's confirm this. cd app/backend. Let's confirm if we have created our account, and whereby we have div db studio. As you remember, yesterday we created this authentication, and here we come back here. So after creating the account, it should redirect us back to the main page, or else it should redirect us to authenticate. And yep, we created our account. See, yes, we have our account created and we have one session. That means it's already authenticated, and the reason why it's not being refreshed is because we have not implemented all of that. So right now, when we the before should work here. That before should have worked there. Let's just confirm something, and then we shall end this video here. And here become const. I'm going to have data and call it sessions, and here I'm going to have auth client dot use session and get the session here, and inside here I'm going to have session user email, and then another part is going to be session user dot name. It's going to have it here, and refresh this. Okay, it's not automatically logging in, so that means if it is not automatically logging us in, that means we did not enable it here, or it's not enabled by default to automatically log you in when you create an account. So as we remember, there's the next thing we need to test is our role. Yes, and our role worked correctly. Now if we create another account, let's create another dummy account and see if the role will remain the same, if the next person will have a different role. And let's call this person comedy, and say for us, and let's have it here. Oh crap. No. That's why it's way better to have a validator to see what's happening, because king, and we have the second user, and if we refresh this, we have our second user as a user. And if we create another user, let's say tree, something like that, and create another one, and see, same thing, user. Since we already have our first user as the owner of the entire platform itself, so the rest are going to be called users regardless of who is logging in. Now the next part is let's also implement this before we can go anywhere else. Before I end this video, let's just add a toast notification, a toast persona, to show successfully creating an account. Dot success account created successfully. And then we can also have ctx here that gives us dot data user and the email itself. Let's actually take let's take the email itself, email, and that king, and this is going to be toast @ferus.com. Toast @ferus account created successfully, and we have our other account created successfully with a toast notification, and we are going to design the toast notification to look much better, and we are still going to make improvements on this because this is really it's nice, but I think it could use some makeover. Either we can put this on the side and have something here in the middle, or else you can leave it as it is but make it scroll more smoothly and much better. Yes, thanks for following and watching this video. I think we shall start from there in the next part of this tutorial, and I think in the next part of this tutorial I'm going to get much deeper into our project that we're going to add the social media provider. We're going to add it from our backend side. That side we're going to handle our backend side, and then as well as implement the full authentication and have our authentication work, plus the checks for the authentication and having the user login. Then we shall also have implementations for sending notification to the user to the email, and then verifying that email from the notification itself. That's why we added the callback, which is supposed to, when we enable email verification, whereby we need the user to be verified in order for them to log in, we shall have to do that. To use the callback, in order for the callback to return us back to this URL, instead of the domain, the API side, the URL for the API side of our application, our backend side. So that's where we're going to stop today, and we shall start from there. See you in the next video, where we are going to have all the other parts done, and then we shall enter into the CMS, which we shall get to build our CMS properties, kind of content management properties, where we can design and pre-build as the administrator or the owner of the platform. I can design and say put my headers, and I can add or remove certain headers from it predefined from the other side, so on the front end side everything is done for us easily.